Because it's been a while since we done one of these. Can you guys hear me? Chat, am I audio? Is there audio? I don't know. I can't. Can you guys hear me now? Sweet, you guys can hear me now. I know I look super weird, and that is because I haven't used the single player menu in a while. I'm trying to get... So, unfortunately, WireMan got hit with the young... whatchamacallit? The young... Can I fix this? Can I even fix this? Hold up. Guys, 1 second. WireMan got hit with the young Windows update. So, you have me in the meantime... And my setup is not really set up for, hold up. I got an idea. Webcam? There we go. All right, guys. Sorry. So I'm going to try to entertain you while WireMan gets his Windows situation under control. As some of you may or may not know, I'm Amanda Stevens. I do The Neutral, which is an FGC podcast. Season 1 hit some unfortunateness. I had some situations happening in my family, and that kind of caused the show to go on hiatus last year. We rounded up the year with 2 journalists coming on the show for the last 2 weeks of December. But we are back and hopefully on point. Yeah, so... I was not prepared to be solo hosting this for a bit. So, hi. Actually, WireMan's computer's back, so I don't have to solo host. This is going to be great. I have been saved and delivered. So, 1 sec. Let's see, how do we do this? We got to deactivate our webcam. Sorry that you guys have to look at a blank screen. Then we got to call WireMan. We're going to go to the two-player screen. 1 second. We got to make some changes, you know. It wouldn't be an Amanda Stevens show if there wasn't a bunch of technical difficulties. All right? So, it's not as bad as the time we had Patrick Miller on and we named him Shine for half the episode.
Oh, nice.
You know, this time, that's not the issue. How about the two-player screen, huh? Discord? There we go. Here we go. Guys, we're doing stuff and things. I am so sorry for all the technical difficulties, but I have with me the man behind the Positivity Jam thread that keeps us all informed with the good shit going down in the FGC. I have WireMan with me today. Reason Gaming's very own.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have that badge compared to other people. I think a lot of people try harder than me to have that. But yes, Reason Gaming's why I'm nice.
Yeah, so we're gonna start with the. I mean, you've watched the show, so you already know what the first question is, which is the fuck is a WireMan?
This came about recently, actually. The whole welcome to 2020. Tell people things about yourself, tell them about your name and things like that. And I tweeted out at the time, when I told Reason's captain the story behind why I'm called WireMan, he said, never tell anyone that story again. And I haven't. So, I can't actually go into it, really. But it's
Are you like a serial killer? Did you like piano wire people? Like, now you can't chat. You're with me on this, right? He can't be like, oh, I told the man behind Reason Gaming what my handle is, and he said never tell that story. Y'all know that he can't do that.
I'm loyal to my captain, but a wireman in general is someone that works on electronics and stuff like that. And my entryway into in a roundabout way, the way that I got into the FGC was through SRK's forums and Team Tech Talk. Was kind of, I considered myself part of the FGC like then when I wasn't even going to locals and things like that, which I think is something we can talk about a little bit as well. But like, that was where I kind of started out, was helping people with fight sticks and just electronics and techniques and stuff like that when it came to that stuff. And so yeah, Wireman's loosely tied to that. But yeah, the true story is
loosely. So are you saying like could I get the story as like a Patreon exclusive?
I'll speak to Undercover.
The Deep Throat edition. All right, so like SNK SRK forums. What was your first fighting game?
So the first fighting game that I had and that was bought for me was Yaya Kung Fu or Yaya Kung Fu.
Oh wow!
So that's a 1985 game. I had that on a British console called the Acorn Electron. Something's called similar to the BBC Micro. If you played.
Wait! You guys get your own consoles in the UK?
We had so many. So in the second and third generations of consoles, we had so many consoles that you guys will have never heard of. We had like the Amstrads and the Sinclairs and things like that. There was loads of like old British. They just looked like really boring, like beige colored PCs. So I had the Acorn Electron, which was beige and had a light beige case and then a dark beige keyboard on it. So two kinds of beige.
Oh wow!
And you played it via cassette, so I've still got it somewhere. I was going to try and take it out for this, but I couldn't find it. Like I said, I'm living in boxes at the moment because I'm still moving in. But I've still got the cassettes. And I've got a Konami cassette. Well, it's actually Imagine software, the publisher, but it was made by Konami. You had to actually understand a little bit of programming. You had to actually write the kind of run commands in a programming language called BASIC. So you'd get the cassette. And
BASIC's a throwback.
Yeah, man. And you'd get the piece of paper, and then you would inside your instruction manual, and on the back of that, it would give you the run commands for your specific machine on how to run these cassettes. And then you would press play, and then.
Are you like ancient? Like you are you older than you look?
I'm 32.
So we're the same age. So like,
yeah.
All right, that's fair. Cause like. You're like saying basic and you're saying you have to like put the commands in and I'm getting like Atari flashbacks and I'm like, wait a second. Like this guy is definitely not old enough to like have essentially an Atari as their first console.
No, so they will.
Uh-oh. He cut out. Chat, am I still here?
Okay.
Chat.
Am I dead?
No, you're back now. You're
okay.
frozen in time, but your audio is back. There we go. You're back.
Right. Nice one. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, my dad was a teacher.
So
when they threw out the old machines, I would get them. So that's how I had a BBC Micro and an Acorn Electron. And a bunch of weird, he taught physics and maths. So I got like weird like oscilloscopes and things like that I was messing with as a kid. Hence, that's kind of like the origins of WireMan, was I was playing with that stuff from a very young age.
That's totally that's totally the real origin of WireMan. We all know better. This guy's like secretly an assassin. He piano wires people, and that's why Reason Gaming can't let him tell the stories, because whenever one of the clutch enemy opponents goes missing, is this dude. It's honestly this dude. It's gotta be. But all right,
so, if you have to ask, you'll never know that.
As Chad is saying, if I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. We now know that that's actually true. 100%. That's the story, and we're sticking with it. The man behind the Positivity Jam is a trained assassin. All right.
Out the positivity.
So, all right. So you played some hecking obscure fighting game as your first fighting game. When did you start mashing buttons with other people? Like, what was the fighting game that you started playing with other cats?
After that, I didn't have a console for a really long time, but a lot of my friends did. I had, like, my best friend had a SNES and a Mega Drive, so a Genesis for the Americans. Mm-hmm. And he had both, so that meant that I would borrow one every once in a while. So we were playing Street Fighter 2 on that. From quite a young age, and both of us had parents that were like working after school hours, so we would go to the arcades here. We didn't have Street Fighter in our nearest arcade. We had Mortal Kombat, and we were one of the first places to get Mortal Kombat 2, and that was quite exciting at the time. We had a cabinet that played Puzzle Fighter, which was really weird, and then we had a Puzzle Bobble one and stuff like that. So competitively, there was a bunch of stuff around that. I live on the coast in the north of England. We still got arcades here now. One of the few places that do, but it's not like an arcade. There's not like an FGC scene every night and things like
Oh.
that. It is, yeah. These days it's claw machines and penny pushers and things like that, and that's all they've got. But yeah, they still had arcades when I was a kid, so I was quite fortunate in that sense.
Nice. I mean, I relate to the arcade. Like, we had consoles, but my parents were easily swayed by all the stuff going on in the US that was like anti-violent games. So
Yeah.
like Mortal Kombat fell into that realm. So the only time I played, I think we had it and then my parents took it away. Like, they bought it before there was all the negative press about Mortal Kombat, and then they're like, wait a second, did we buy that game? And they like went through my Genesis games and like, we did buy that game. Yoink.
Oh, and you had the Genesis one, so you had the
Yeah.
good one with the
So we had the
real
good
blood
one
in
with
it.
the actual blood and everything. And there was like, and like at first my parents were like, all right, you can keep this game if you use the settings to like turn off all the blood. And I was like, yeah, totally. See, look, gore off. And then they'd walk away and I'd be like, pause, turn it back on.
Just playing as Cyrax, you're like, yeah, he's leaking diesel, it's fine. It's just...
Yeah, it's fine. And then like eventually they like caught me, and I was like, so you see what had happened was when you turn off the game, it resets the settings. So like I just forgot to turn them. I swear.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we good. Yoink. And I was like, all right, goodbye, Mortal Kombat forever. So like the only time I played Mortal Kombat for you Americans, my closest arcade was a Fuddruckers. It's like a restaurant chain that's like burgers and like hot dogs and stuff. And then like in a lot of the backs of Fuddruckers, there's like, depending on like how big the Fuddruckers is like a fully functioning arcade. So we're talking like, you know, your pinball machines, your foosball table, and then whatever random cabinets they had. So if I wasn't playing Turtles in Time, I was playing Mortal Kombat and Virtua Fighter.
So yeah, Virtua Fighter was the first game I bought. If we're going to talk about So the first one, because the first console I actually had that I wasn't borrowing off other people was the Saturn, and I was going to get that for Model 2 I had, and that was still expensive for our family. So that was like the Christmas present, and I wasn't allowed anything else, and that including games, right? So that was the thing. So my birthday's in November, so I bought Virtua Fighter, and then I just sat and read the manual for like a straight month until I got the Saturn and I could actually play it on. And I was just obsessed, and I was like, I'm gonna learn this game. I knew the names, like it wasn't back punches for me, it was twist knuckles and things like that. Because I just remembered everything from the pages. And so I played Virtua Fighter, and I took that quite seriously in our household, at least. But I was the only person with a Saturn, like in my school. Like everyone had a PS1 or a what was it at the time? Would that be an N64?
It was, yeah. So it was, the N64 came out shortly after the PS1, I think, and then but the GameCube came. I think didn't the GameCube come out like before the PS2?
I think there was like an in-betweeny moment, wasn't there? Yeah.
But so you were a Saturn person. So like, are you a Sega head? Like, or is it just Sega was like the most convenient?
So it was the only thing I could have. Then there was the whole, again, because
like we're at an age where like console wars were like at their peak.
Yeah, you had to pick one. That was the thing. As much as
right, like you knew every kid was like, nah, ride or die Sega, or you'd be like ride or die Sony. And so like nowadays, I feel like kids grow up and they're like, PC, right? Or they have an Xbox because like there's an Xbox in the house maybe. But like those were battle lines drawn when we were kids.
Oh, definitely.
Yo, this UK internet, man, just like he keeps going robot on me. I wanna crush Atari.
I'll tell you what.
Oh, okay.
I'll drop a couple of things and see if I can.
No, you're fine. I was reading the chat in the meantime. You were Atari Jaguar was your first console fandom crush? Respect. That's definitely a respect moment. Like I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
All right, so Virtua Fighter. Huh?
Oh yeah. So Virtua Fighter, and then it was Sega from then on. So I was borrowing this Mega Drive off my mate, and then Saturn, Dreamcast, and all of the rest of it. And it means that I've missed a bunch of games as well. So like when I picked up Tekken 7, the last ones I was playing were like the PS1 ones and things like that. Dead or Alive was the same. Like when that stopped on the Dreamcast at Dead or Alive 2, I stopped, and then like.
So wait,
So
that means you played Soul Calibur then?
Yeah. So I played Soul Calibur. I've got a couple of copies of that. You kind of just ended up getting copies of that every time you bought a Dreamcast at one point. So I've got a bunch of copies of things like that. And yeah, I played that at the time. Did get a GameCube eventually, and then played Soul Calibur 2 on that. And that was a good Soul Calibur.
It was good because you could play as Link.
Yeah. And he was pretty buff, so that was good.
He was pretty. My favorite thing about Link was the fact that you could use different weapons with him. Right? You could like pick in the menu, like, did you want the hammer or did you want the boomerang? Like, that shit was tight. I enjoyed that. But I'm a Mitsurugi player, so like, every now and then I'd, dabble with a different character and then I'd come back to my samurai boy.
Alright. I tried playing 6 for quite a long time. I just couldn't get over the clash mechanic. I think I don't know. It spoiled it for me. I was like, I want to beat people.
Yeah, I had the same problem when 5, like even when 4 came out. Because the thing that I liked about Soul Calibur, because I'm like bad at remembering inputs. So like Soul Calibur always felt great because it just felt like you were just straight mauling people, right? You were just straight. It always felt like you were just straight brawling. Like yes, there's like finesse to the game, right? But it felt more like you didn't have to know, the ultra combo finish or any of this nonsense. You just pressed your buttons, right? And then 4 they're like, oh man, like you have armor break, and I was like, oh guys, I don't know how I feel about this. And then they brought in like the clash and like the movement parries, and I was like, all right, guess this game got way more complicated than like I want it to be. Bamco, why?
They brought it back a bit though. They definitely brought it back with like this. Obviously, the stories back in the kind of 1 and 2 era and stuff like that. And yeah, it feels like a great game. It is just when you're playing online and you just know that the other person's just mashing to just get you into clash, and you're just like, oh, I'm not playing anymore. I just left it. But
so what was your first like competitive fighter?
Competitive, you know what? It was Street Fighter 4. It was actually 2012. So yeah, as much as I was around in the SRK forums, so I can technically say I'm not a post 09er. Like I've got a pre 09er account and things like that. Like actually playing and actually competing and stuff, I'm very much an 09er. So it was 2012 was when I first started turning up. I was lurking for a long time. I was in London at the time, so I was going along to Meltdown and things like that, and just sitting in the back for a lot of it. And then I gave Street Fighter 5 a good crack as well. I was already going to EGX, which is obviously now being quite big for the Pro Tour and things. That had quite a big British turnout before the Pro Tour even happened. Unequaled Media were actually already running stuff there from about 2012, so you could actually go along. They had some pretty old school things. They did something called KO the Pro, where they would just have Ryan Hart on a stage and people would just line up and try and beat Ryan Hart, and that was a thing for a while. And then they did some smaller tournaments where you would win custom fight sticks and things like that. So yeah, before there was an actual like eSportsy scene, there was still stuff going on in London at least.
Okay. So Street Fighter 4, that's your first competitive game. Now I see, for those, you guys can't see this, but I can. His Discord picture is of Chun-Li. So have you always been rocking the Chun-Li main?
I played Chun-Li in Third Strike, and then from the beta in Street Fighter 5, I was like, she feels, and this doesn't age well, but I was like, she feels Third Strikey, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play Chun-Li in 5. She's got the big stand heavy punch, and it was still quite a dominant part of it, as was back heavy punch and stuff. And I was like, I'll play Chun-Li, and I played Chun-Li for season 1, which was obviously amazing. And
then season 2 came along, and what happened was,
I stuck with Chun-Li and realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was. So that was a thing. And but I did stick with Chun-Li for season 2, though. I've got to say that. So if you see me going back to Chun-Li now in the new season and people go, he's just coming back. I played her in season 2. I suffered, okay? So
you paid your dues.
So as much as I went to Mika for a couple of seasons, I still played Chun-Li in the hard times. And I think I've earned enough stripes that if I pick her up again now, because Mika's lost her auntie, that's okay.
Look, I mean...
Just saying that now.
I mean, some of us, Wow, Chizopath, you stuck with Ryu. That must have been hard. That So like there are some characters in esports that, you know, they have their pinnacle and then like they just like fall like 2 notches down the ring. And then there's season 1 Ryu, who was at the top of the mountain and then hit every branch on the ugly tree all the way down to the low tier category. And I don't think he's ever really recovered. Like, you can give him a new V skill and all, and like that's cool. Yo, when Daigo doesn't play you anymore, you know that there's a problem.
Oh yeah, like I can still remember it like it was yesterday. But the happiest I've ever seen Daigo was at EGX 2016. He was just playing casuals against Bonchan, and it was Ryu Nash.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them were just having the time of their lives, and they were their characters, and like it was a good year for Nash as well. And yeah, you could just see them like proper, like you know, Daigo's seen as quite a stoic person on stage and that, but in casuals and all the rest of it, he was jumping up, he was like staring over a screen, making sure that Bonchan had seen what he was doing with Ryu and things like that, because he could still play as Ryu. And yeah, it is a bit of a shame. I think everyone's experiencing that now with him picking up Kage and going, oh, maybe he's going to be like the evil Ryu. But yeah,
you know what? You can whenever you like feel like Kage's not as good as you thought he was, just watch Ceroblast stream, and then you can be like, oh, look at these, look, like watch Ceroblast and Kami stream, and then you can be like, oh my god, this character like mixes fools and does maximum damage, and then you can just pretend that like the rest of the world doesn't exist. It's great. It's fine. You know?
Oh yeah, in a bubble, Kage looks amazing, plays amazing, all the rest of it. New V skill seems quite nice for him as well. Actually, he can get some plus frames and things like that that he was struggling with. But yeah, that's it. Then you actually pick him up and try to do anything in neutral, and you go, oh yeah, this is still work. We don't have to work in 5. We've got things that prevent that.
You know, look, I'm an Abigail player, so like I shouldn't really talk shit about anybody's characters. I had a really good whole of season, like end of season 2, beginning of season 3, and then Capcom caught on, and you know, life is a little bit hard, so it's fine. You know, every character except for Karen goes through the hard times, and I guess Rashid too also doesn't go through the hard times. So like every character but like 2 people have gone through the hard times, and you know, it's fine. It builds character, right? It makes us stronger individuals to go through the hard times. Because then when we...
I don't know. Life's too short now, man. I ain't loyal. I'm 32. I don't need to learn characters anymore. Let me play a nice linear character to an easy amount. Like, I went with Mika for Gfinity originally, but even then, like, I always had the feeling that Mika would be okay. She would get the kind of Rashid Karen treatment, because every patch, she didn't get buffed, but she just got left alone. And that was like a stealth buff for a couple of seasons. If you didn't touch a character, they kind of moved up a little bit. But yeah, they definitely dealt with it this season as well. Not too hard, but
I mean, she's still a grappler, and like grapplers don't have rights, so
yeah.
I mean, granted, a grappler won Cap Cup, so like, just saying, you know, all American finals, but you know, we're whack at fighting games, you know. You Europeans and the Japanese, you're all like, oh man, America sucks. And then like we win a Cap Cup and you guys are like, because you played a grappler. And it's like, I mean, y'all could have played grapplers too.
Oh yeah, we'll hold that for a year. It's all right. We'll be back.
I mean, how many Capcom Cups does Europe have?
How many Capcom Cups?
Yeah.
I mean, how many Evos does Europe have?
Oh, ow! That was... I knew I knew I was playing with fire when I started that. I just hope that WireMan with his positivity jam wouldn't go for the low blow, but I was incorrect. You know, but I do have to say,
I maintain the balance.
I do have to say that like I know that like you're from England and Europe is not a country, and I shouldn't talk about it like it's one scene, but it essentially is. Y'all been coming out lately. Like, first it was the Great White Hope. Wait, he's not white. First it was the Great Hope of Problem X, but, like, slowly creeping in is all these other people. Like, Infectious, you got him.
I mean, Infectious has always been scary, and I think he's been he's had the Oro treatment. He's had one arm tied behind his back for a while with university and stuff, and now that he's graduated and he's got a good sponsor under him and things like that, that's it. He's just unleashed, and I think we'll see amazing things from him.
Who's a UK player? So here's a question. Here's a UK player that's like y'all's IDOM, where like the second he gets to travel, it's over for the world.
I think the ones that are getting slept on, and I'm sure they're in the chat right now anyway, is the Scottish FGC, and I've said that for a little while now. They've got a lot of scary players that do travel to like locals and things like that, but they might not get seen on stream so much. So you've got Nort up there, who's a Urian player who's always just been terrifying. No one ever knows what he's thinking. You've got Sully from the Glasgow scene. And Soundboy is the one that we're all talking about at the moment, who's a Cody main who dominates the North in a lot of ways. He goes to all the locals. He goes to Edinburgh, Aberdeen, Glasgow, Newcastle, where I'm from, and he just takes every single scene basically. So he's looking at a terror domination early this year. I think January to March he wants to hit every local in the North basically. So yeah, watch out for him. I don't know if many people know him outside of the UK. He's been on stream for a couple of things. He was at Versus Fight and things like that. I think made top 32. But,
Sorry, chat just said Not doesn't even know what he's thinking.
that is the point though, you see, especially as a Urian. Just doing walk-up headbutts on people, and it's like, how, what? And yeah, you're already gone at that point.
I mean, that's the thing that I love about, one, doing the show, and two, just like how vast esports and the FGC is that like, you get tricked into thinking that the people who regularly top 32 are like the only good players in the world. And then you have like, I mean, IDOM wasn't like the best kept secret because he still showed up to any US premiere. But like, if you didn't follow just the US premieres, right, he would get lost in the shuffle, right? Because there's more premieres than just NA. Or like, that's why everybody likes the Arathis Story, right? It's like, holy shit, where did this guy come from? Oh wait, there's this whole FGC scene that like nobody's ever heard of, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think that's
with IDOM, wasn't it like that? Like even like the owner of NLBC and stuff was like, you need to travel, and like everyone was telling him, and
he's Stoop Kid. So this might not be relevant to you EU people, because I don't know like if you guys had Hey Arnold. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not trying to like assume that you guys are like backwater or anything, but like TV shows are weird. But like you guys know who Stoop Kid is, right? From Hey Arnold, the kid that like was afraid to leave his stoop, and then Arnold gets him to come off the stoop, and then he's like, now I can harass people not only on my stoop, but off my stoop. And that was IDOM. Like, as the New York scene, like, tried really hard to get him to just, like, stop being an online warrior and, like, come out to NLBC. And then he was whooping people's ass at NLBC, and everybody was like, yo, my dude, you need to travel. And he was like, I mean, do I have to leave the country? And we're like, I mean, if you want to qualify. And he was like, nah, watch me. And he was right. Watch him. He qualified without leaving the country, except for going to like first attack, which like Puerto Rico is not really leaving the country. But like, yeah, I mean, like I want to see more Stoop Kids. I'm hoping that like this World Warrior Challenge system that they've got now that's replacing the ranking system, I'm hoping that somehow allows for more Stoop Kid stories.
Yeah, if that's anything close to the Tekken Dojo system, I think we'll see stuff like that come through for sure. I think, like you were saying there, like Europe's one scene. I think one of the strengths that Europe actually has is we are super granular. When you actually look at Europe, it breaks down in a bunch of different ways. So you've got like the Europe scene, and then there's the UK scene, but then the UK scene breaks down into the Scotland scene and the London scene, and then there's some stuff in the middle as well. So like where we are in Newcastle, we interact with like the Yorkshire scenes, but we also interact with the Scotland scenes and stuff. So there's like loads of these little bits that we've got. We actually do something once a year or once every other year called rival scenes here, where you actually get all of the different scenes all kind of rain into York.
Oh wow!
Play each other.
That sounds sick.
Yeah, it is. It's normally in the winter, I think. So I think we missed it this year. There's going to be one sometime October to December at the end of the year. If you watch the last one that we did, it was super hype. Yeah, had people from everywhere just making like Newcastle versus Glasgow and things like that. It was really good. So we've got that going on. So there is this like huge competitiveness, but there's also, we are still seen as Europe, so we behave like that as well when we're together and help each other out, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's super weird because like I hate clumping like a whole continent as one region because like that doesn't sound right. But the thing is, like, when I'm at an FGC event, you know, you see the Japanese, and there's usually like three core groups of the Japanese, right? Like there's the Itazan's crew, which is like him and Goichi and like Mochi and like, you know, a bunch of those guys. And then you see the people that are around Daigo, which is like Daigo and Bonchan and Fudo. And then there's like the other Japanese players, and they kind of huddle up. And then Europe is pretty Europe strong. Like, yeah, Problem X will like, you know, play with like Do or like some other people. But for the most part, every time I'm at an event, it's like Luffy, Problem, the Two Birds, Phenom. Like, they all seem to like huddle up and chill out. And I know that like it's not because like, oh man, like the Americans are whack, or oh, you know, the Koreans or the Japanese are whack. It's just like who you training partner with. So it's kind of easy for me to section off Europe as just like one scene, because it doesn't seem like that many of you cats travel, which, you know, is because of how money works.
Oh yeah, I think this year we might not have a choice, depending on how the World Warrior system works. But yeah, I think a lot of people are already preparing. I'm
not a fan. Like, we were talking about this before this show started, but I felt this way when the announcement happened, that the fact that you guys went from two premieres to one is kind of whack. The fact that we have no idea what's going on, like, there's no ranking system, so I shouldn't call it the ranking system, but the fact that the ranking system's gone took away like a buttload of events from you guys.
Oh yeah, we were kind of spoiled, and I think we knew that we had a good thing in the UK at least, because we had either two in Birmingham and one in London, or two in London, one in Birmingham, and things like that. And it was really good, and yeah, two of them were premieres, so yeah, you could scoop points quite comfortably here. We had Ireland not too far away with Celtic Throwdown, which is a really good event, so it's close enough, and it's such a good event that it's worth traveling out to.
There's not a ranking system anymore. Regional ranking tournaments are just gone. There's still like a ranking, like a world leaderboard, but ranking events were for your regional points, and the regional system is 100% gone. So there's no more ranking events whatsoever.
It's like majors and minor majors now.
It's now premieres, super premieres. I've been told by my sources at Capcom, super premieres are gone. No, the ranking. Ranking events don't exist. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. There is no such thing as a ranking event.
I think they're still called that.
No, it's premieres in the World Warrior Challenge.
All right. Okay.
Okay, I'll like double check, but I'm like pretty sure, because I like was talking to Michael Martin when he was still at the thing, that like the whole structuring is like very different now.
There was them two screenshots. There was like a blue one and a red one, and the blue one was premieres.
And then the other one was the World Warrior Challenge, which is ranking map. Let's look. Oh, so this is,
that was the thing.
When did this come out? Because this is very different than the announcement they made. Because this is calling it rankings provide more opportunities for regional players to participate.
So this was just after Capcom Cup. This got tweeted out. Those pictures. But even then, the variety is way down. Like
yeah. It's definitely not what it used to be, right? Like, even for me, we had a couple of ranking events in the Northeast that just don't exist. Right? I mean, like, Defend the North lost, like, it's not a ranking event, or whatever it's called now.
EGX is really confusing for us, because that's like EGX anyway is like a big event here for like all gaming, not just for the FGC. But the Fight Zone is like quite a big centerpiece to it. It's got like it's always the last place to shut down on the last day and things like that. People are always like coming in and out of it that aren't even there for that. it's such a big thing. It's a big selling point to EGX on their website and stuff. So I don't know what's happening with that one at all.
So we only have 13 ranking events, which is a stark cliff fall from last year.
And they're broken into halves, so presumably around the Olympics or
yeah. Ooh, actually, speaking of the Olympics, since you're kind of super involved in the English scene, who do you think your team is going to be? Like, is it Problem, Infectious, and like some other guy they pull off the sidewalk?
I mean, it wouldn't even need to be sidewalk. We've got some good stuff, man. Like, I'm always gonna play that, but like, no, we really do. And
do you honestly think though that it's probably gonna be like definitely Infectious and Problem X?
Well, the concern there, I would say, just from my own experience, is if it's online qualifiers that gets those people into those slots, we get a different turnout. We do get a different turnout. If you look at the CPT online stuff that we did, it's really frustrating.
Ooh, Hurricane would be dope.
Yeah, Hurricane would be a sick one. I think Brian would be a good one.
Yeah. Oh, I keep forgetting that it's an online qualifier, which I'm not a big fan of. I wish it was being done the way Overwatch League does it.
Yeah.
Where like you vote. So for those of you who don't follow other he's not a UK citizen. Whack. So the way Overwatch does it is that their regions vote a manager, and then the manager makes the team. Because the thing is, like, funny shit can happen online. And I could just imagine, like, the shenanigans that could happen to, like, the US team. Where, like, our team is, like, Hawaiian Shirt Man, fucking FGC Jesus, and, like, Tampa Bison, right? Like, that would be, like, the worst case scenario for us.
We've got, I won't say them, but we've got equivalent memes in the UK.
But you know what I mean? Like, you guys could end up with, like my big problem with online is, like I said, like, one, the netcode is, like, not great. The new PC netcode I hear is, like, better, but, like, it's still not great. And so, like, because, like, my ideal North American team, right, would be, like, I mean, US team would be, like, IDOM, Do, and Punk, right? Like, that's a team that like actually has a chance of like medaling at the Olympics. But like if it's some other combination of players, like
I mean the stakes are a bit higher now compared to like the CPT online tournaments, but we saw pro players like queuing up in the CPT online and going, you know what, this isn't going to be good, and then just not taking part. And when you've got that pull of like loads of players and anyone can be in, everybody signs up, and if it's free to sign up and all the rest of it for these online tournaments, loads of people then don't turn up as well, so you get loads of buys in the early on bits and things like that. And
I just feel like it could affect the quality, like granted, like for some Olympic teams, like especially in like Taekwondo and stuff, it's like determined by like a tournament and then like your national ranking. But like it's not like we just like pull people off the street, right? Like Taekwondo doesn't like reach out, like white belts, right, don't go compete at like the nationals to make the team.
You're onto something here though. Let's just have like a King of Iron Fist style qualifier for the martial arts side of things as well, and just see how that goes. That you wouldn't do it, would you? It wouldn't.
No, right? Like don't get me wrong, and this isn't to like because I know like 801 Strider and like IDOM come from that like online warrior background. So like I'm not trying to like discount online warriors, like you guys are good, but like this is the Olympics, fam. I want, like, my best team. Like, I have German heritage, so, like, when it comes to the World Cup, I'm, like, Germany ride or die. Like, jersey, scarf, like, we in it to win it. Like, I get very competitive about this shit. So, like, I don't want my team to, like, not be the highest caliber I think it can be.
Yeah, I mean... same thing. We've had really strong online people here. Like Broski was an online find, and that was like massive for him. Like, even although I'm not a strong competitive player by any means, like I wouldn't have got my moment in the spotlight or anything like that if it wasn't for online tournaments and stuff. So as much as I can talk shit about them, you know, like they do produce a different type of person. that isn't necessarily going to be able to get out to tournaments and isn't already sponsored and things like that. So there is some good stuff there. But yeah, you don't need that Cinderella story for the Olympics. Like there's enough Cinderella stories that can happen in the Olympics anyway.
Like Cinderella Story should be that country, right? Like it shouldn't be like your team shouldn't be a team of Cinderellas. Like that's right. Like a cool Cinderella story is like the U.S. beating Japan in like group play, or England beating South Korea or something. Like if Tekken was a thing, right? Like England beating South Korea in group play. Like that's the Cinderella story. I feel like when people watch things like the World Cup or the Olympics, you don't want to hear about the Cinderella person on your team. You want your team to have the Cinderella upset. And I mean, like I said, like I think we both agree that like we're not discounting online warriors, but like if you could handpick your UK team, it wouldn't be made up of 3 online warriors.
That's it. We've got proven really good players.
Yeah,
and we want to see proven really good players go out there. So yeah.
Yo, would you pull in Ryan Hart?
I mean,
would you draft him in?
As the German on the podcast, are we allowed to have him back? Because that's the.
That's fair.
Out in Cologne now, isn't he? I don't know if they've claimed him, but yeah.
England will never beat South Korea in Tekken, lol. But I get what you mean. I mean, yo, what if England's secretly the new Pakistan?
Hey, can we claim the Phantom? He's been living in UK long enough.
Yo, I mean, but that's the thing, right? I feel like the cool thing about fighting games, and it's something that I don't think I see enough in the other esports that I cover. Like, I'm fighting game born and raised, but like a lot of people that work in esports, like we had to pay our dues doing other things before we could start doing fighting games. Like I paid my dues 2 years covering League of Legends before I got to do fighting game content. Is that like I don't see these like people coming out of left field. Like because of the way competitive league works, like you can kind of see somebody being on the rise. Whereas like the cool thing about fighting games is you could just not know. Right? You could just straight up not know that there's some like demon who just doesn't go to events. And only people that know about him are like his friends, or like he's the dude that comes to the local like 3 times a year and he like cleans house and then he vanishes into the sunset again. And like that's the cool thing that's like the cool thing about like fighting games, I think. So that's why whenever someone's like, oh, I could never see like Team England beat like South Korea and Tekken, it's like, there's some demon probably somewhere. I honestly feel that way. I honestly feel like that way about fighting games, that you just don't like. How many of y'all knew who Idom was like 2 years ago, right? No, like there wouldn't be anybody who wasn't from New York or an online player would not have known who Idom was. But like the people who did know was like, yo, if this kid traveled, he be fire. So there could be a dude. There could be like a bunch of dudes on Tekken Netplay who are like, Arslan like played once and was like, fuck, what is this shit? What is this straight Unga Bunga nonsense that's beating me?
I love how that's already the narrative, is who's the next Pakistan. It's like, it's not even been a year. Like, let Pakistan sit for a bit.
Well, for a bit, it was like the Dominican. Oh, sorry, I messed up. For a bit, it was the DR, right? Like when why is it escaping my brain? Mena. When Mena like beat, like it wasn't. Granted, Mena wasn't somebody people hadn't heard of. Like if you were paying attention that CPT year, Mena was like taking names and like top 16ing a lot of events, and like he was going out somewhat regularly to Wednesday night fights and using that as his home base when he was like mainland. So like Mena's probably not the greatest example, but then like when Mena came out, then Kaba came out, right? And everybody was like, yeah, ooh, maybe the DR is strong. So like first it was the DR and now it's Pakistan. But what was interesting about Pakistan was, did you see that Ultra David tweet that he put out where he was like, back in like the early 2000s, one of his friends said that like Pakistani Tekken were the true Tekken gods, and Ultra David kind of laughed it off. And then like, now he's like, I guess I was wrong.
Oh, we had that as well in London. Like there's quite a big Pakistani scene, and they were all saying that as well. And as soon as it happened, they were like, "Yeah, we told you that this was just a matter
and like
of time."
The chat's even saying like Peru. It's like you don't. It's just like because of the way because like so. I would say the only like super visible downside of the FGC becoming more esports is the fact that, you know, now you need a visa for a lot of these tournaments because there's so much money involved. Like before, you're winning like $200, so you don't really have to say you're like going. Like the whole prize pot was maybe $1,000, so like you didn't have to announce that you were like on a business trip. But like even if you're traveling for a prize pot that's like $15K, you gotta tell them what you're coming into the country for because you're bringing back like $5,000, and that's kind of hurt a lot of these smaller scenes that are in countries that don't have very good visa relations with some of these major countries. So it's kept a lot of these big, like these like big sleeper scenes sleeper, right? Like Arslan needed a lot of help to do what he did this year, right? Oh, yeah. If he didn't have Sherry Jennings and a bunch of people helping him out, there is no Arathis Story, right? Doesn't matter how good he is, doesn't matter how good Pakistani Tekken is. Right? You just wouldn't have that story. And so like it's interesting to me that the biggest drawback I think a lot of people don't talk about with FGC becoming more esports is you kind of closing off some windows for some of these like Middle Eastern scenes.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the other thing is that you can tell that those scenes really want it as well, because as soon as they do get like 1 foot through the door, they're like immediately paying it forward. So like Mena's immediately paying it forward to Kaba. As soon as
and then Kaba came through, he like was people were like, oh man, like he's a friend of Mena's, but how good he is he? And then he was wrecking people on his guile, and people were like, oh, it wasn't just Mena. Maybe the DR is a scene.
We've got it obviously with our honorary Europeans. We've got the Birds. As well, and yeah, as soon as Big Bird was doing well, Angry Bird is there as well with him, and you know, like stuff like that's always happening as well. So these people know that they're strong, and they know that they've got strong people around them, and they always bring them with them, which is quite cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The Latin American scene has always been interesting to me too, because I talked to Kane Blue River once at an Evo. That was probably one of my favorite interviews that year, because he said that like one of the problems about being from like Latin America is that because of how terrible wages are, a lot of people become disincentivized to become good, because if you become good enough, you eventually want to go to a premiere. But when a plane ticket is like half of your year's salary, like why would you do that? Like why would you fly? Yeah. So like it creates like a cap on your region, right? Because like you know that you can't leave. So like why, like who wants to be the biggest dude that nobody's ever heard of, right? Because like when you're competitive, you're hungry. You want everybody to know your name, right?
Oh yeah.
And so if like you can only be the best guy in, you know, Brazil, like Brazil's a big country, but like that's still just Brazil. So I really hope the World Warrior Challenge does some stuff for some people, but like, yo, like I know Harada and, you know, whoever the new Michael Martin is at Capcom eSports, like y'all don't watch my show, but like, yo, put premiere someplace. Just like try like hire Hado, right, to like fly out to you know Colombia to like run an event, right? Like give these places you know a chance. And
oh yeah, and like with the thread that I do every Wednesday, right? Mm-hmm. Like I started you know, I'm always looking for positive things to put up, and it's not just positive things. It is like it's got to be community based. I've got a bunch of little kind of rules that I keep in the background for that stuff. But just through looking for that kind of stuff, you find interesting things. And I found a couple of like African tournaments that were going really, really well, and I put them into the thread. And from that point on, like all the time now, I get tagged in loads of African events. And they're a scene that has never been incentivized to go to any of these kind of big mecha tournaments like Evo and things like that. But they still do, and they still turn up. And they still have a really strong, thriving scene. So it's a bit weird there, because they probably have the same problem there as some of the Latin countries do. Yeah, but it's not really stopped them actually. Like they're still going hard all the time.
Yeah, it's a weird. But I think it's just like I don't know how to go about it, because I'm not from there, right? Because I have met African players. One of my first Evo 2016, I was just hungry to do content, so I was like almost talking to anybody that looked like they were wearing like a semi-legit jersey. Like I knew who pros were, but I was like, I know I'm not gonna only be able to like do pros, so like I gotta try to do other stories. And I ran into a team that was of South African players, and they're like, yeah, you know, we pulled money together, we flew out, you know, we're in a bunch of different games, and like that's just so cool to me, right? That like as much as like we kind of start talking shit about Evo now because like Mr. Wizard is an interesting chap, but like it is an opportunity for some of these scenes to, you know, like send their champions, right? You know, send their 6 dudes to like wage battle and hopefully, you know, do what. I mean, it's like I mean, there's no other way to say it, right? Like a whole community, like for like things like Evo, for things like Cap Cup, LCQ, right? You do hear all the time. You hear these stories about like these are the 4 guys that like the entire local scene, you know, pulled money together to ship them out, right? Like that's the story every year, and I don't know. It makes me talking. I get this way when I talk to EU players the most because like your scene isn't like London, like maybe like a specific country scene isn't strong, but like the region of Europe as a whole is, and so it's super bizarre to me when you guys go from 2 premieres to 1, right? Like. Y'all have an Evo. Y'all have more than a few Evo champions, but y'all can only have 2 premieres.
Yeah, it's and we've got good events as well. I think that's the other thing. And all the Americans that come across here say like we've got really well run events, really enjoyable events. Yeah, like Brussels Challenge is still going to kick it off, I think, this time around, and that's still going to be massive. And the mix up and things like that. They're really cool events, really enjoyable.
And we took Kumite away from you guys. We put it in Japan.
Yeah.
we even took Kumite away.
Oh man. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what else they announce though, because it does seem like there's got to be loads of stuff kept back this time around. And
we're just trying to delete Europe off the map. We've decided that you guys aren't allowed. I mean, as the chat is saying, you know, we got to give the US the chance. Like, man, I love how like when I have Americans on my show, I get like 5 viewers. When I get Europeans on, like all y'all come out the woodwork, and y'all troll my country, like y'all troll the host. I don't get it. Like, look, I understand that my country can't win tournaments. All right, it's fucking hard.
See, this is why you've got to keep us down. That's the problem.
It's because y'all are fucking rowdy. Jeez.
That's it. We travel. That's it. We're the first ones doing stage invasions and all the rest of it, you know. But this is what happens when you put your esports division in California. Is Europe gets wiped off very slow now. So,
I mean, I would love to be a fly on the room of some of these premier decisions. For like, I mean, like the one thing I love about the Tekken World Tour and the Dragon Ball World Tour was that it forced me to fight my base instinct. So my base instinct was like, oh man, it sucks that there's not more American events. And I was like, for a world tour, right? I was like, man, there's only like 3 American events. Like, what is this shit? And then I like stopped myself and I was like, wait, it is a world tour. It needs to take place in more than America. And I love that about Tekken and Dragon Ball, and it looks like Soul Calibur is also going to be that way, of like actually a world tour and not just like 10 American events and like 10 non-American events.
Yeah, it's the baseball World Series of the FGC is what you're looking for.
Basically, right? But then like, you know, Street Fighter is like the only tour that's like, nah, let's have like 15 NA events and 15 non-NA events. And you're kind of like, what happened? What happened to isn't it the Capcom? Well, in fairness, Capcom doesn't call it the Capcom World Tour. It's the Capcom Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like a golf thing.
Yeah, you know, it's fine. It doesn't matter where it is as long as it's got professionals.
Oh, yeah. I mean, on the Tekken thing as well, like the dojo system's shown that there's appetite in a lot of underrepresented countries for what's going on there. When you looked at where the dojos were happening, there was big dojos happening in Morocco. There was dojos obviously happening all over the UK and stuff like that. Pakistan was massive for dojos. That actually pushed them to put majors together and things like that. So I really hope Street Fighter gets something similar where we can go, right, if you put it in our hands, we'll actually give you something. Because I think the UK would, at the very least, put loads together
I
to be a
think
part of it.
I think the dojo is probably the best thing in the FGC of 20. Like, if you were to ask me, like, it can't be like Arslan or IDOM, and it can't be like a specific, like top 8 or anything. If you were like, what's the thing that got introduced into the FGC in 2019 that wins like the best of the FGC award? I think it's the dojo system. I think the dojo system definitely empowered a lot of communities that didn't have power before. It drew in so many people, right? Like, I even know people who are like running the Atlanta dojos that like, we got so many new people showing up because they heard that like they could get actual meaningful points out of it, right? I think the dojos is probably I agree with you, and I think chat said it too, that like I'll be really sad if the World Warrior Challenge isn't something similar to dojos, because it's a missed opportunity. Like,
it was huge, yeah. Like I entered my first Tekken major this season.
Ooh.
Because it was going on, so I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I started going to Tekken at my locals because of that as well. Like, before then, I would go to Street Fighter. Tekken would be there, but I wouldn't be taking part. And I'd go, it's so easy to make an excuse about Tekken and go, oh well, it's a super technical game. I'm not going to learn enough to play it and take part in that.
Yo, just play King. Just play King. Then you have Jaguar Step. You don't need to Korean backdash when you have Jaguar Step.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I'm playing Feng at the moment, and that's a similar thing. He's actually got like a 1-button KBD. So. But you start entering that stuff. So yeah, I'm suddenly putting down more money at my local, just going, you know what, this is a dojo event. I can enter this. This is going to be a big event. There could be points in it for me, or it's just going to be exciting anyway. We've started doing stream coverage for that reason at our local and things like that. It's really grown us, and they've not had to do anything. Namco's not had to put their hands in their pockets. Like, Rick didn't have to speak to us as much. He was architecting all the dojo stuff. There was no engagement there. There was just, this is on the table. Apply for it if you want to do it. And already that was enough for like massive growth in a lot of scenes.
Okay, so we're getting towards the hour mark. So chat, since y'all are here and actually active for once, because sometimes my chat is whack. Do y'all have any questions for WireMan? Obviously, we can't ask about the deep lore about the name. But y'all can ask anything. It doesn't mean that it'll end up in the episode, but you guys can ask. All right, first question. What is 2020 looking like for you? Like, what is I assume, like, what your first couple events might be? What do you plan on doing?
So there's that thing, like I was saying, that like the UK, we don't have as many events this year. We've got Versus Fighting in Birmingham, which, yeah, like that's a no-brainer. It's a really good event. It brings a lot of games in and stuff like that as well. Probably the most games in one place that we've got in the UK, so it's worth it just for that, and it's a good laugh. I think I might be going over to the States this year, but this is one of the things where this year, when you're talking about a European going over to the States, I'm looking at Combo Breaker. I'm not necessarily looking at Evo,
Ooh, you got called out by chat. They're asking why you are wearing UYU gear and not Reason gear.
So this is a really comfy hoodie. I've got a Reason hoodie. It's just,
and that's most FGC. I'm gonna call him out so that if you know who he is, you can have a word with your mate.
I started doing this thing a while ago. I'm like only really kind of stocking up my wardrobe now with t-shirts and hoodies that put money in the FGC, because I don't really care about my clothes or anything like that. I'm not that kind of person. So it's just a thing I started doing. But the UYU stuff, though, that hit us hard with the VAT in the UK. Like, you pay a lot of surprise charges when you try to order off UYU. So.
Your other question is, what do you think the biggest thing in the UK can do to boost locals further, excluding circuit stuff like dojos and that? And that is Leon Massey.
Leon Massey, from the Merseyside FGC, I think. But yeah, he does some good content. I like your tweets, man. It's tough. I think he actually nailed it in a YouTube video a while ago. One of the things that we struggle with in the UK is the findability of events. Like the Newcastle FGC, like a lot of people actually find us through Facebook. And I think that's quite normal these days, is if you're not part of the FGC and you don't know that Twitter and Discord are the main points of contact these days, you're going to go to Facebook first. And if you don't have a presence there, it's really, really hard. I know Top Tier, toptier.gg's tried really hard to kind of bring some of that together. Again, it relies on other people to inform Top Tier. So there's still not a robust enough way to find your locals. I know so many people who say they haven't got a local, and they probably do. They just don't realize.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why even you got to give Super Joe Monday credit, because he has the local index on the Reddit. But like if you don't know about the Reddit, like that's the thing. Like
that's it.
If you're like, people think that Reddit's this big thing, but I still think it's like a relatively nerdy thing. Like people might have heard of like relationship advice or something, like normal people, but like regular people aren't gonna be like, oh man, I'm like kind of into Street Fighter, so let me see if there's a Street Fighter Reddit. They're like, I guess I'll check Facebook because that's where events are, or I'll check like Eventbrite. Those are like the two places that people look for events. And if they don't see anything on there, they just assume it doesn't exist, because like the average person doesn't use Twitter the way like you and I do, right?
No, that's it. Like
they follow celebrities and then they tweet when they're like mad at a company, and that's about it. So like,
oh yeah.
And then like we as the FGC were like, oh man, Twitter, like that's a great way to get everything out here. Discord channels for our characters. The Reddit, right? And then when they're like, why haven't we had a new person come to the local in like 5 months? That's your answer.
Yeah, like we had so I first heard of the Newcastle FGC because it was a poster in a comic book store that we had here. But I wouldn't have heard about it otherwise. And that was always the thing. Even looking back at 2013 when I started going to London events, I only went to the London events that had like kind of got in my way. I wasn't outwardly looking for things, because you didn't know. If you're looking for a local, you don't know if you're on Facebook or on Twitter whether people advertising with a decent poster, whether that's just some guy in a pub who's got a PlayStation in the back, or if that's a legitimate event with hardcore players that want to get each other better at a game. You don't know until you've done that sort of stuff. So if you haven't got a network, that's still really hard. I don't know what the answer is. I hope everyone in the UK, we've got most of the events I've noticed, but I hope everyone is updating things like Top Tier and in UK game events as well. There's a Twitter account that retweets everybody's stuff. But yeah, it's just findability.
Yeah, I mean, so like, and this is for you too, chat. The first season of The Neutral, I did put out that if you had a community event that you wanted me to shout out, to hit me up on Twitter. Because even though my show isn't that big, occasionally an episode or two does get a lot of views on YouTube, and it does help people out. So if y'all EU cats got some stuff you want me to shout out, next episode, hit me up, and I will put it out there. We have one other question for you, and that's from Mr. Brandon Rightwell, who asks, how big was Gfinity for you guys in the EU scene, and do you think SFL should structure themselves the way Gfinity did?
Oh man, I could talk forever about that one. I won't, but so I was a child of the Gfinity stuff. Obviously, I came in season 2. I was there for season 2 and season 3, and I was still in the background in season 4. It was massive for us. It wasn't life or death. So when it went away, I think a lot of us thought, oh well, that's gonna be it. The bubbles burst was a common term. It wasn't that much, but the amount of a boost it gave us was actually huge. So obviously I got into Reason, which is like I think the oldest, like the longest standing esports org in the UK. I then went from there to Vitality, which is like one of the biggest orgs in the world. Like you don't have to have heard of much in esports to have heard of Vitality. And if I brought up Vitality, people were like, oh, the Rocket League guys, or the League of Legends guys. I used to get people would just come and talk to me if I was wearing that hoodie about League of Legends. And I was like, I've got no idea what you're talking about. But yeah, it gave us exposure to that side of things. There was a lot of learning for a lot of us. So I don't know if anyone really has ever talked about it, but we had like a publicist that would give us advice that was there and that would tell us how to tweet and things like that. So we had like a big induction day, and she was like really helpful.
Internet, folks. Yo, we'll just wait. You're back, kind of.
I'm back.
Yep. So you had a publicist who taught you.
Yeah, so she came on the first day and she was explaining to us how to handle ourselves, how to actually talk online better and things like that, how to actually build brands for ourselves. So there was a lot of extra stuff there. I think we took that for granted because I don't think many people actually jumped on to the kind of free stuff that Gfinity was giving us to help them promote. But yeah, so even just outside of that, so it was great for like bringing attention to a lot of our players, but it was also really good for leveling those players up. Guys like Pax and stuff like that who've gone on now and are doing stuff with Red Bull and things like that. That's because they learned that they had to like jump at those opportunities and they were taught how to carry themselves when they were going for them things. So no, massive support there. I was a bit gutted when I saw SFL and I saw that it wasn't franchise teams and it was like, well, it was like internal teams and things like that. I think it takes some of the excitement out of it because how do you build loyalty behind Frost, for example? You know, there's nothing there.
I mean, so like I will say that overall, I thought SFL was a great thing.
Really well done.
I know a lot of people weren't a big fan of character bans, but then you got some really funny storylines, right? Like, I think people wouldn't have realized how hard Samurai was popping off if there was no Laura ban, right? Like, if you didn't have the free Laura joke, I don't think people would have paid, like, because Samurai's a workhorse, right? Like, he's going to get the job done regardless. But if he has IDOM always winning on Laura, I don't know how many people would have realized how strong he was.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion. I don't think you would have noticed him. He would just be the guy that always comes into work, punches in his time card, does his job, leaves, right? I think that it should have stayed the same captains for each season. Maybe then you build... I mean, like, first of all, it was perfect that Nephew, the Coilin player, was Team Frost. Thought that was pretty great. I thought having the Laura player be Team Storm was pretty great, right? Like, I think that they dropped the ball on at least keeping that the same. But overall, I mean, I get what you're saying that, like, you know, bringing teams in, but it seems that Capcom eSports isn't super interested in, like, eSports.
Yeah, they were trying to achieve the same thing. Like, what the Gfinity Elite Series, and this is my own assumption, this isn't, I've never been told this, but it looked like the Elite Series was there to advertise Gfinity, because Gfinity actually does a bunch of stuff. They do, like, Halo can just go along and go, we want you to run our league for us. And Gfinity has the skills and all the rest of it, and they do that. And I think the Elite Series advertised that they did that to people like FIFA and Formula 1 and things like that.
Yeah, so I think for Capcom, like, also, like, with the way... So, like, Gfinity was smart in being like, oh, you don't have an FGC division fanatic? Well, like, if we tell you we're doing this thing and we're going to help you promote it, would you pick up, like, 3 FGC players, right? So, like, even Gfinity knew that, like, they had to incentivize these traditional orgs to, like, have a team. But, like, in the US, like, how do you convince TSM to, like, sign 3 fighting game players, right? Like, how do you convince, you know, Cloud9 to sign... Like, that's the other thing, like, Europe has some of these, like, actual, I will say, like, country esports teams, right? Like, Fnatic is, like, pretty known. Vitality, they're back, you know, like, a lot of these orgs are kind of, like, country ride or die, and that's because of the way sponsorships work and like marketing works in Europe, that like it's really hard to get like French marketers to care about a team that plays in like Germany. Like, this is something I've heard from like the EU LCS teams a lot, is that like getting sponsors is really hard because, like, you know, even if we call Europe a region, there's still country based marketing. And so, like, how do you convince a French brand to like want to market themselves on a program that's like aired on Twitch and is based in Germany? Like,
yeah, that's it. You've got language barriers, a lot of legal barriers over here.
Yeah.
If you ever watch the Formula 1 and you see that, just the way they have to change how the sponsors are displayed on the cars depending on the country they're in. And
yeah, so like it's a lot easier. So that's why like I view Fnatic as an EU team, right? It's not just an EU team because it plays in the EU LCS. Like, everything they do is EU forward. Same with like Vitality, Rogue, you know, I mean, Schalke has, like, even, like, with the football clubs that have esports divisions now. Whereas in the US, I don't view any of them as, like, North American orgs. Like, they are North American in the sense that they're, like, based in North America, but, like, they'll grab players from anywhere.
Oh, yeah, Leffen's definitely not an American player. Like,
right? Like, so, like, so, like, my thought process is that, like, I guarantee you at some point, Capcom was like, maybe we try to do the Gfinity thing, and then they might have reached out to some teams, and some of these teams are just like, lol, you want us to sign 3 players?
It was 6 players in Gfinity.
Oh, wow. Lol, you want us to sign 6 players? Could you imagine, like...
Yeah.
And because of how inflated esports, like... And here's the other problem, right? Like, yeah, paychecks in esports in Europe is a little different than paychecks in esports in the US. So I could just imagine knowing like how some of these American FGC players know how much like the league players get paid. Them like getting into the bargaining room with like a team and being like, yo, so you're gonna pay me like $1 million, right? And that team's like, to play Street Fighter? You sure?
We did experience that as well though. So like that was one of the things with Gfinity that was interesting, was it was the first time that you had the FGC and esports interacting in an inescapable way, because you had Rocket League teammates and things like that. So we were actually there as teammates, turning up the same weekend as people. At least in the teams I was in, we were talking to each other and like hanging out and stuff like that. And yeah, there was clearly disparity there and a lot of confusion. Like the managers didn't know what to do with us compared to what they knew what to do with the other guys.
Yo, Gibbs, you're getting timed out. Gibbo, you're getting timed out. That was uncalled for. That was some uncalled for nonsense.
I've been upsetting Gibbo a little bit lately, so that might have been...
He said you can tell Cloud9 is a North American org because they can't get that W.
I thought it was something against me because I've been upsetting Gibbo a little bit lately.
I'm pretty sure Gibbo. I'm pretty sure the winners of season 1 Overwatch was who? Was the London Spitfire, who's owned by who? Oh, Cloud9. Right. And like, who won the Boston Major? Oh, right. It was Cloud9. Like, but we can't get the W. Oh, that's right. We good. I see you, Gibbo. Let's see you come back in the chat again. Let's see. I see you.
You're fighting against Aberdeen tenacity there, mind you. He will keep coming at you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. London Spitfire, Yo, with South Korean players, though. Y'all can't claim that shit. Nice try.
That was confusing as well. How do we get brand loyalty over a London team that's got nothing to do? But anyway, that's it. Yeah.
We can have that talk, because I love talking about this. Like, except for national teams, right? Like, I'm a New York Yankees fan. I don't know why. Shit's really tough. But, like, not everybody on my team is from New York.
Nah.
Right? Like, I guarantee you there's some people on Newcastle who are not from Newcastle.
Yeah, we got a lot of French players.
Yeah, but you still root for Newcastle, don't you?
Yeah.
But no, there's no buts. Yeah, you still root for Newcastle.
Have you been to Newcastle?
Like, I mean, yes, I have.
The way football works, I think, the way football works is like you support your team, and it's an important thing, and it's got a lot more to do than, it's not just the players. It really is that you are walking with your city. It's quite a big deal.
I'm just saying, yo, you can't be like, oh, London Spitfire's made out of Koreans. Like, I'm a New York Excelsior fan. I don't think there's a single American on my team. But yo, I'll take my W's. But then again, I'm a New York Yankees fan, and like we invented buying people, and then Chelsea stole that method from us.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm an Arsenal fan. My life is hard always. I don't pick good sports teams. All right, like I just my sports existence is suffering, and I just accept it. except for my national football team. Germany's a good team. Sometimes.
Yeah, we don't get along with them. But
hey, it is what it is. You know, maybe you guys could be good one day. Maybe you guys could like be good at the sport you invented.
So, well, we invented all of the sports. That's the other daft thing, right? We invented cricket. Arguably, we invented golf. Well, Scotland invented golf. You know, all these sports we housed. But,
I'm just saying that like y'all invented a shit ton of sports, and like y'all aren't very good at a lot of them.
No, our women are.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I mean, like England want to come out at me in this chat, but like maybe y'all should be good at your own sports first. Y'all should try some things. Look, like, come to me when you guys win a World Cup for the first time in like 40 years.
Full European stream chat, just be nice.
Oh no, the stream chat knows that I love them. Probably, maybe. I hope y'all do. I appreciate anybody that comes out that supports the show. But we've been going at this for like an hour 20. And I know it's like 120, 118 by you. And the same for like all of you goons in this chat. It's probably getting late. So, I mean, most of these goons are here because of you. So I'm going to tell you to shout out your socials for the YouTube crowd in the podcast. But where can people find you on the internet?
It's at Behind the Wires on Twitter. That's the only real place you need to find me. I'm on everything, but that's the only place that I'll talk. But yeah, what I'd really appreciate is if people do what a lot of them are already doing, which is just tagging me in on stuff that I can then thunderclap on a Wednesday. You know, I'm really looking for a lot of charity events and things like that I can retweet and stuff like that. I know a lot of them go on. I don't get to see all of them and shout them out as much. So if you know charity events going on, please at us with ours. And again, locals. We're trying to make things more findable in Europe. And that's it. Also, I've been writing for the Players Lobby recently. You can see my stuff over there. So yeah, recently I've done interviews with Kami, Cuddlecore, Bolt Strike. Got a couple more on the way as well. So yeah, you can find my stuff there as well.
All right. I got to tell you the last thing that Gibbo said, which is Scotland is phenomenal at our own national sports, like throwing logs, drinking lots, etc. That's fair. You guys are very good at those things.
The Highland Games, you get that in America, don't you? I think that's on like ESPN3 or something like that.
It's on like the Ocho or something. Like it's on one of the fake ESPNs. Y'all know how to find me. It's at Amanda TN Stevens. That is me on Twitter. That's also my email. If you guys ever want to like suggest people to be on the show, you guys can follow me at Sage Gnosis everywhere else because that's my gamer tag. So that's the Twitch channel, which you guys are already here. So you guys are already here on Twitch. Just like do that for like YouTube, Instagram, all of that. It's the same tag. Behind Mr. WireMan, it was a great having you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, EU Goons, for showing up in my chat. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed the show. I hope you guys hit me with the follow. Next week, we are going to have Alexander Leon. He's a Smash writer, but we're going to be talking... it's going to be less about him and more about money in the FGC because, you know, both scenes, Smash and fighting games, talk a lot about player sponsorship and stuff like that. So we're going to have an honest conversation about that. And then the week after that is Kizzy K. So if any of you guys follow those anime fighters, y'all know who Kizzy K is. So that's going to be a sick episode. So, you know, next week, Alexander Lee, if you want to be part of a discussion about sponsorships and money in fighting games, I really think you guys will enjoy that. You guys should check it out. And then, like I said, the week after that is Kizzy K. And the first YouTube exclusive episode is going to be probably with Vicious. So the first YouTube exclusive, meaning it won't be a live show, will be Vicious. So that's going to be a good episode. And then after Vicious, the next YouTube exclusive is going to be Persia. And I'm trying to get shit going with F Word. So, like, definitely make sure you're following the YouTube if you guys want to, you know, catch some dope exclusive content there. So until next time, go beyond, plus ultra, and peace. And where's my mouse? It's on one of my monitors.